Hey everyone, today we're breaking down all the exciting stuff coming to Wuthering Waves version 2.2, and let me tell you, it's packed. The version 2.2 preview special broadcast is happening on March 21st, so mark your calendar. But remember, what I'm about to share is based on leaks, so nothing is official until the live stream confirms it. Still, leaks give us a fun sneak peek, so let's dive in. First up, let's talk banners. In Phase 1, we're getting Cantarella alongside Danjin, Sanhua, and Yuanwu. Then in Phase 2, Shorekeeper and Camellia will arrive with Baiji, Chixia, and Alto. Honestly, both phases are looking really solid, and I can already feel my Astrides disappearing. Which phase are you pulling on? Because I'm definitely pulling for Cantarella. Now for something huge, we're finally unlocking Aero Rover through the main story. Finally, right? Players have been waiting forever for this, and that's not all. You're also getting a free 5-star sword. This weapon has a base attack of 588 and an energy regeneration substat of 38.9% at max level. The passive is pretty wild. When healed, your resonant skill damage goes up by 26% for 16 seconds. And when Aero Rover hits enemies with his resonance skill, he lowers their arrow resistance by 26% for 30 seconds. Aero Rover is looking like a powerhouse damage dealer and a huge Aero team enabler. Could this be the start of the Aero meta? Before we move on, let me share some recent beta updates on Cantarella. And trust me, there's a lot here. Her move, Flickering Reverie, now counts as casting an echo skill. Jolt is now considered basic attack damage. Liberation is also basic attack damage, and now you can cast it while in the air, as long as you're close to the ground. That's going to make her so much more fluid in combat. Tidal Surge will now trigger 3 coordinated attacks. Phantom Sting now costs stamina while mid-air, 5 stamina to be exact, and the chain can no longer be reset. Abyssal Vortex can't be activated by holding the normal attack button anymore. Concerto generation from Abyssal Rebirth increased from 5 times to 6 times. The stamina cost of Perception Drain went up from 10 to 12. Sequence Node 1 now grants interruption resistance during Perception Drain. Sequence Node 3 can now activate Mirage. Sequence Node 6 got hit with a nerf. It no longer gives a damage multiplier buff, and its defense ignore was reduced from 30% to 10%. Oof! But on the bright side, at Sequence Node 6, once every 25 seconds, using Perception Drain won't put it on cooldown. Cantarella's signature weapon also got some tweaks. Both her basic attack and intro can now trigger the weapon's effect, instead of just the intro. The third stack mechanic was removed, but resistance ignore got bumped up from 10% to 12%. The base attack of the weapon has been adjusted to 500. Not bad, right? Aero Rover's sword got changes too. Arrow amplification was increased from 20.8% to 26%. Definitely a nice buff there. Let's move on to exploration. We're getting a new location, Avinullin Theological Academy. It has both above-ground and underground areas and is tied to ancient factions in the lore. Expect puzzles, secrets, and probably some tough fights lurking in the shadows. I can already feel the lore enthusiasts getting hyped for this one. Now let's talk about endgame content. A new mode called Virtual Crisis. Prototype Trials is coming, and it sounds like a spiritual successor to Babel Tower from Punishing Grey Raven. If you like tough, strategic content that really tests your builds and rotations, you're going to love this. Get ready to sweat. Alongside that, we're getting a new main story quest and a new weekly boss fight against a giant version of Cardathea. Yep, a giant Cardathea. This is going to be wild. There's also a new world boss on the way, and for all you min-maxers out there, we're finally getting a main stat selector for non-buffed echoes. This will make optimizing your builds so much smoother and way less painful. About time, right? Cantarella mains, there's even more good news. She's getting her own companion story quest, plus a new sequence menu idle animation. It's a small touch, but it adds so much personality to the game. There's also a new hologram being added, featuring none other than the Dragon of Dirge. Sounds ominous, doesn't it? On top of that, we're getting a new title system, so you'll finally have another way to flex your accomplishments. Can't wait to see what kind of titles we'll be able to unlock. For all the photographers out there, there's a new pose type for photo mode and a brand new weapon sheathing animation for every character in combat. The animation team really snapped on this one. We're also getting fresh echoes to collect, plus a new Tacet field. This one introduces the Aero Erosion set called Gusts of Welkin. The 2-piece bonus gives a 10% arrow damage boost. The 5-piece set is even better. After applying Aero Erosion to enemies, it boosts arrow damage by 15% for your whole team, and by an additional 20% for the equipped resonator. And the buff lasts 20 seconds. This set sounds like a dream for Aero comps. Aero Rover mains, rise up! Now, remember when they teased new brightness and contrast settings back in 2.1? They're finally expected to release them in 2.2. Took long enough? Let's talk crafting. There might be a new mechanic coming. Leaks suggest you'll be able to use 2 materials of the same rarity to create one specific material. We don't know yet if this will apply to boss ascension materials or weekly boss converters, especially since we already have the synthesis converter. But if this turns out to be true, material farming is about to get a lot more efficient. Event time. The Lalo campaign is making a comeback, along with events like Raguna Weather Forecast, Exploration Progress, and If You Gaze into the Abyss of Dreams. If you played Depths of Elusive Realm, this one might feel familiar. Exploration tasks are also returning, and there's a new event called Photos and Traces that's tied to the new area. You'll be collecting photos and using the Scale of Past to track down locations. Plus, we're getting the classic Logan event, so don't forget to log in and grab those free rewards. And here's the big event, Winds of the Past. This ties into the main story quest and has 3 stages. It reminds me a lot of Tales of Isles from version 2.0, where you collect stamps to level up the event and earn tons of rewards. The only question now is whether Winds of the Past will be permanent or time-limited. We'll find out during the livestream. Also, Whimpering Wastes is getting updated in version 2.2, and players will get 80 astrites as compensation for the update. Free astrites? I'm not complaining. For completionists, there's something special. Astrites will now be tied to your map exploration percentage, so fully clearing zones will now give you even more rewards. Time to 100% every zone, am I right? Lastly, QoL is testing a new feature, the option to disable co-op teammate VFX. It's not confirmed if this will drop in 2.2 or later, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. If you've made it this far, you're a real one. Stick around, because I've got even more Wuthering Waves leaks, guides, and updates coming soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you never miss out. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you all in the next one.